Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am WaveTheory, and this is an exciting video because we get to do something a little bit different today. I sat down for an interview with Jeremy, the owner and founder of Audiophile Ninja, a maker of high-quality but entry-level headphone cables here that I have recommended numerous times over the life of my channel if you are looking for a good, well-made, basic headphone cable comfortably under $100. Well, Jeremy very graciously sat down for an interview with me and also chose to use my channel to launch a new line of headphone cables, which he is also here to tell us about. So this video is going to exist in a couple of different parts. Right after Shameless self-promotion, we're going to get right into the interview where Jeremy tells us about his company, and then we'll use that to transition into him telling us about his new headphone cable. And then after that, I will come back and talk more about that new headphone cable, which I got ahead of time to evaluate in the prototype phase, and then also Jeremy sold me one of the production units for a hefty discount that I now have and will do a more thorough review of and give you my sonic impressions and my impressions of what it's like to use this new cable. So stick around for all of that. And then also, there might be a couple of audio issues that came from doing a Zoom-style meeting on here. I tried to clean that up as best I could. I think everything is legible and audible clearly, but just know that there were a little bit of connection issues here and there, and again, I cleaned them up the best I could. So, let's go ahead and do shameless self-promotion, and then we will get to the other side of with this interview, the new product launch, and then my thoughts on this new headphone cable. Here we go.
Hello. I'm one of the reasons that WaveTheory can't spend all of his money on audio gear. He wants you to know that your support is vital for keeping the channel running. So if you enjoy WaveTheory's bussin' review riz and no-cap review style and want to encourage him to stay in the basement so I don't have to listen to his dad jokes as much, like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also send him a donation on PayPal or sign up for the Patreon. Links are in the description. Now on to the review.
All right, so as promised, I have with me Jeremy, the owner and founder of Audiophile Ninja. It is owner and founder, right? I got the title.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, and
all right, so
and everything else to keep the business going. So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Jeremy. It's pretty exciting to have you today because, one, we get to learn a little bit more about Audiophile Ninja. And I mean, I have been a fan of the Audiophile Ninja brand because I think your cables have been an excellent entry-level option for people. They're well made and like all that kinds of good stuff and reasonably priced. So that's cool. And it's also exciting today because you get to announce a new product. Right, you've got a new product coming out, and so that's
very
exciting too.
Very excited.
Yes. So
finally, after years, it's finally
well,
here.
there you go. So we're gonna get into all of that today, but like what I asked Jeremy to do here is just prepare for us just a brief little talk here about who and what is Audiophile Ninja. So Jeremy.
That is a great question.
Yes.
I am Jeremy Eskritt, for those who don't know me. I am the owner of Audiophile Ninja, as Brian mentioned. We design and build products that focus on high-quality, handmade audio products, particularly headphone cables, for the aftermarket business. So our main driver for starting up the business was really building something that everyone could afford, from the budding music enthusiast all the way to the trusted audiophile that uses these as their go-to primary cable. I started off years ago and couldn't find a cable that would just fit my needs perfectly, so just started slinging some solder, put things together, and started selling on eBay. So figured, why not start a business? And there might be other people that like the design and the no BS approach that we put into our products. We're really a very small but dedicated team of individuals. There's only 3 of us. So we have 3 members of our team that design, build, support, and manage 2,000 plus cables a year for the audiophile industry and really viewers like you. Sound like a PBS ad in there, but
that's all right.
They can get all the pitch they need.
Yeah.
So, as mentioned,
Although this is being broadcast for free, so we got that similarity going on here. Yeah.
perfect. Besides myself, Ryan is our other master cable smith. So he basically runs our operations up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So he is the one who is filling orders, soldering cables, building the majority of the orders that come through the door. And then we also have Chris, who is our customer service manager, but he also helps out with cable assembly and everything when we have a stream of orders that come in and we need some extra hands on deck. So he's very multifaceted there as well. So yeah, we just have a strong, very dedicated team of the three of us, and our goal is to just handcraft and build our cables here in the U.S. using as many domestic materials as we can. So that's basically high-level overview of Audiophile Ninja, where we came from, what we do, and how tiny we really are.
And you have cable options for just about every headphone, it seems. Like
We've
pretty
tried.
close.
Yeah, I mean, we started off actually with only two headphone cables that we supported, with only like one or two different lengths, and now we've grown to multiple thousands of different combinations over the last 4 years. So we've really
Because the
grown
last
from.
time I poked around on your website, I saw that for like amp end connectors, like you have like Furatech upgrades if you want them. I mean, there are some others in there too. That's just one that stands out to me. So we have lots of options there, and of course, single and 3.5 millimeter, 6.35, 4-pin XLR, Pentacon. I mean, you've got them all.
We try to handle what everyone throws at us, and anytime someone has any questions, reach out to support. Chris or I or Ryan will answer your email. It's just the three of us, so one of us will answer your email and let you know if we do have various connectors or things in stock that we have for custom builds. We're happy to do that for you, but we will be very straightforward and let you know if we can't. I mean, sometimes certain connectors or certain designs just don't fit our particular combination of parts, but we'll let you know. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out.
I suspect that the things that you cannot support are rare, though, because it does seem like you cover most of them out there.
Yes, yes. I mean, overall, the majority of amp ends that are out there today, as you mentioned, from the small
even at the
2.5
headphone
CRS
end.
to whatever. Oh, headphone-wise, yes.
Yeah, even at the headphone end, you are supporting just about everything I can think of.
We're trying. I mean, we
Yeah.
do get the occasional headphone that is a unicorn that's out there that we just can't find a quality connector, and that's really the main focus is quality. There are things that we can find, that we can just pop on there, but my whole goal is this is a small business. We rely on trust from our customers, so if it's not something that I would be comfortable using myself, I'm not going to build it, and we'll just say, sorry, we can't build it. We don't have, the connector available for it. And that's the main thing is if we can source it, if we can get it, we're happy to. And the more people that ask for a particular headphone, the more motivation that gives us to build and design for that headphone type as well.
Well, and plus you probably need to buy those connectors in bulk. Anyway.
In bulk, yes.
Yes,
in bulk.
All right, well, that's cool. So thanks for the intro to the company there. So just for the viewers out there, full disclosure kind of thing here. I mean, this is an original Audiophile Ninja cable that I have plugged into my Focal Radiance right now for this call.
And you bought that years before I even met you. Like,
yeah, I bought
for a while.
I bought like just with my own money or for like from channel funds, one or the other, right there. I bought 3 of these for different uses before you and I ever met. That is correct. So like I do mean what I say. When I said this is one of my go-to Audiophile Ninja is one of my go-to brands there at the entry level. And so like I have this one that's a dual 3.5 millimeter at the on the headphone end, and it's got a 4-pin XLR, and then you also make a nice little pigtail adapter that can go from like an XLR to I have a 1/4-inch single-ended adapter on that one. I have another one of these, exact same thing, but it's a 3 meter or about a 10-foot length there that I actually use up in my living room for like late night movie or TV watching.
Oh, nice.
Right, like I got that there just because like I have an amp up on my mantle and then the spot where I sit on the couch is like 6-8 feet away from that. So I needed, like a 10-foot cable to reach there, and it works
I
great.
probably should have gone through the orders before we had this conversation to grill you on which ones you had.
Yeah. So then I've got two that are XLR on the amp end and 3.5 millimeter dual 3.5 millimeter on the headphone end, and then I use it for a Foztex, my TH900 Mark II, because like when I bought my TH900 Mark II, it was in bad shape. I had to like almost completely rebuild it. I put Lawton cups on it, put new drivers in it, all that kind of stuff. I bought it cheap on eBay from somebody who just beat the heck out of it, right? But it was a fun project. But while I was in there, I'm like, I'm not using these Foztex connectors, right? So I put dual 2.5 millimeter on that. So I have a third of your standard issue cable that is XLR on the amp end and dual 2.5 millimeter on the headphone end for that one. So
wow, that's a rare one. 2.5, you rarely see those anymore. We still get them every now and then, but
yeah, well, that's the only thing that I could meaningfully get to fit in that enclosure there. I had to really do some work to get it done, but I think it was worth
well, I'm
it.
glad you did that because the Fostex connectors are the biggest pain to solder and properly assemble.
Did
So
you hear that, Foztex?
thank
Give us
you.
better connectors.
Oh, please, no, I hope you're not
Okay.
watching this.
Yeah. All right. So the other exciting part about this conversation then is you have a new product to tell
We
us
do.
about. So
Yes, yes.
please tell us about
So
that.
if you could just blacken all the screens right now, our new product is actually called Vanish. So the Ninja Vanish is going to be our new series of cables that we are rolling out. It's completely redesigned from the ground up. As our core base wire, we've upgraded now to using a 6N UPOCC Litz braided wire that is built by Neotech, who has been building high quality audio cables for years in the audiophile market. So we partnered with them to get this cable built for us. Well, not built for us, but just the core wire that we use in our build. We also worked with another supplier to build custom high-end headphone connectors that are built precisely to our spec versus going to a different OEM or other bulk manufacturer that just supplies us in bulk with a particular part. We actually worked with the engineering team to specifically design and build all these connectors that we have for the Vanish, specifically to how we need them to be. So the downside of that, though, is in releasing the Vanish, there are going to be less models supported in Vanish than there are with our standard product line because we have not built every single cable type out there for the headphones. So,
At launch, what will you be supporting then?
So we'll be supporting the Dual 3.5, which is 70% of the market that's out there right now.
Right. There's your hi-fi mins, your
Audiophile, hi-fi min, etc.
Yeah, right.
We've got the Sennheiser HD 600 series.
Okay.
So that's like the 6XX, the 600, 650, and so forth. We'll have the Dual 2.5s, which you will have for your modified Fostex.
Yep.
Then we'll also have the Sennheiser HD 800 series. And we'll have the Odyssey and ZMF. So it's the dual tiny 4-pin XLRs.
And so you can put the Meze, Empyrean, and the Elite in there too, if that's of interest to anyone. Because those are compatible with the ZMF and Odyssey connector as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
So offhand, I'm trying to think of, I had the sheet here with everything on there, but I don't have it in front of me. But off the top of my head, those are the ones that are going to be at launch. Also, you'll see it once it does launch on our site. I'll show all the ones that we have available. And again, we're in the process over the next year or so to actually redesign and rebuild all the other ones that are requested as well. So if there is something that you would like to see in Vanish, definitely let us know. It does take a long time to design, develop, and build it, so the earlier the better. But we are currently looking at other headphone types at the moment.
Yeah, you've got the bulk of them covered, though. With
exactly. I mean,
the ones that you named there, most of them.
yeah. And looking overall at sales of cables, that's where we really decided to put all of our efforts into. We looked at the sales of the various models that we have now and tried to look at, all the different connectors that we could support with the Vanish. And as you mentioned, buy in bulk, so we can only buy so many at a time without going broke. So we had to start with the core products that sell the most, and then we'll get to the some of the more ancillary ones or more uncommon ones in the future.
All right, now I cut you off with that question. Was there more that you wanted to say about the build of the Vanish cable?
Yes. So one last thing I should say is
Yeah.
regarding the design is that we really designed this to minimize microphonics as much as possible. We call this our stealth technology or what you will. But we did add different pieces to the build to absorb some of those small little vibrations that go from the wire to the headphone in order to really cut down on microphonics as much as possible. Some people are extremely sensitive to it, like myself, and others not so much. But that's really what I wanted to do in this build, is have a lightweight build that was stealthy in design, that was just elegant. Something that just coils nicely, has a good fit and feel to it, and is just finished the way you would expect a nice cable to feel. And surprisingly, actually, looking at the weight, we actually have a larger conductor in this cable, but it is 60% less weight. So we really shrunk down.
I have one of those too.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So we really shrunk down the weight.
Yeah. And so your point about microphonics, I've got a pretty sensitive microphone right here. I'll just see if I don't know if that's picking up anything.
I can't hear it. Maybe post-processing you can pick it up, but
yeah, maybe. But yeah, I will also echo the fact that as I have been using this cable, microphonics have never stood out to me. Like, it's just never been a thing that I've noticed. Now, I don't count myself as one of the more microphonic sensitive listeners out there, but I do notice it when it happens, and I really haven't. I mean, if I catch it really hard on something, sure, but like, you got to work really hard to like get a pretty high
it's
level.
Impossible to design a 100% non-microphonic. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah,
right.
And one thing I've noticed actually is it's funny in building these cables is I found that the headphone design plays more of an important factor, plays a bigger factor in microphonics than the actual cable. I mean, I've had the exact same cable connected to two different headphones, and one it is extremely microphonic, and other ones barely anything at all. So it must be, the physical assembly and combination of parts and how the jack is actually fitted to the transducers and how the structure is, and if there's any absorbing materials or the weight. But
that's a really interesting thing. I would think that a dynamic driver would be more susceptible than a planar, now that you've said that.
Yeah.
But I've never really paid attention to the difference there, but now I'm probably going to. That's interesting.
There's some headphones, I'm not going to name them on here, but there's some that are just, no matter what type of cable you put in there, it's just, don't move.
Yeah. I've had a couple of tube amps in for review that if you tap the table, you hear it ring through the tubes. And
that can be annoying.
Yes.
So regarding the design, that's Vanish in a nutshell. It did take us a couple of years to actually build, design, and partner with audiophiles and reviewers such as yourself. It took us a good 2 years to actually get this done and get it done right. That was the main thing, is we wanted to send prototypes to people who use these cables on a daily basis to get their input instead of just having us sitting in a basement, trying to figure out, what sounds good, what doesn't. We really wanted to have the Vanish series stand out and be what people wanted it to be. It took a while to get everything right.
I can hear into the future. There are some viewers jumping up and down in front of their computers or with their phones right now, asking the question.
You don't want to pull the headphone out of your amp.
Yeah. How much is this going to cost me? So what's the sale price on this going to be?
Yeah, so we are starting at this tier with the 6N purity copper lit braided wire, starting at $184.95 is where we're going to be starting at. So looking
Okay,
at
so my audio just cut out a little bit right there, so let's make sure we hear that. You said 184.95?
you got it, yeah. So any budding audiophile can afford it. Yet it is definitely higher price than our standard model because it has much more expensive core wiring in there. I think the core wiring is 10 times the cost of our standard product line. So to be able to offer this for only 1.5 to 2 times the cost is something that worked very hard to get it right, to get the manufacturing process down such that we can build and sell it for low cost. I know low cost is obviously relative because in the scheme of things, paying sub $200 for a piece of wire, is definitely a lot for some.
All right, so as Jeremy was saying just a moment ago, we want to be very transparent and do full disclosure here. He said he worked with some reviewers and other people who are into audio to get feedback on his product here before it launched in. I was one such person, so full disclosure here, he sent me some, he sent me a prototype ahead of time, and as I recall, you're
actually, I did a blind test.
So
I didn't tell you what I was sending you. So I
was trying to be humble, Jeremy, but go for
placebo
it.
cables. I sent them placebo cables. Some of the high-end ones, I sent them a mix. And I'm like, you tell me what the difference is. And I'm like, he's not going to be able to tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. I couldn't tell the difference. And don't know how you did it, but I am not worthy. I am not worthy. You have much more magical ears than I do.
You sent me 3 prototypes, as I recall. One of them was what became the Vanish.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had 2 others that were the same wire, but different connectors, I believe.
Correct. Yep.
And I was able to successfully identify.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, you just broke up there a lot. What was that?
Oh, I said they were covered so that way you could not tell. There were 2 completely, or two of the same cables that look completely different. So you would have no idea.
Right. I was very clear. Do not tell me ahead of time what these are. Just send them to me, and I will listen to them. So I had no idea what the conductors were. I had no idea of the specs. You sent me 3 cables, and I immediately, when I took them out, I'm like, the connectors were a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But that was all I could really tell, and I didn't know what connector was what, so I knew it meant nothing to me other than just identification. And so all I did is I just made some little homemade labels, and I named the 3 cables Kurt, Chris, and Dave.
I was like, yes,
for reasons to throw that, and yes, and I was able to ultimately say, first of all 3 of them sounded better than your standard issue cable. So they're all an upgrade, and I will give more sound impressions at the end of the video, so everybody stick around for that. But then so I identified the one that was the Vanish, and then I also lumped the other 2 together because I was like, these other 2 are really close to each other. There might be slight differences in there, but it's not going to make or break your company which one you choose there. And you were like, dude, those are the same cable. They just differ by
they look completely different. Yeah.
And
I don't know how you did that.
There you go. Yeah. So there is an anecdote of yours truly, reviewer WaveTheory, being blind tested by cables and say, find the different one. And I did. Yeah.
That's why I say, I will tell you exactly what we build the cables out of, what the materials are, and I will never try to sell you on what it's going to sound like. I will sell you on the design, the build, the artisanal work that goes into it, but the sound, everyone hears differently. You could hear differences I couldn't even hear. It's like...
Well, then how do you know? No, I'm just teasing you there.
That's why I send prototypes out to many people like yourself who do have that, golden hearing, so that way we can really tweak and adjust and build these the way that people will love.
Right. And your instruction to me was just more of like, are these ready to go? Are there any big errors in them? And like, no, there weren't. Like they were basically ready to go. And then the other part that I'll add about this is, again, just in the transparency thing, is that for my efforts, you did give me a steep discount on
I
one
did.
of these cables
The
here, which I
prototypes, yeah.
appreciate. So, yep.
I mean, nothing's
So,
free. I mean, you took a lot of time in reviewing it and chatting with me on the phone and walking through it. So, I mean, you know, definitely well deserved, and really appreciate your help.
right.
And as one of the voices to bring this product to life.
Well, I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy sitting and listening to audio gear, obviously. Like, I'm in as deep as it gets these days on that one. So that was good. So yeah, I have one. My Vanish here is a 4.4 millimeter Pentacon, and then I went with the dual 3.5 just because I have a good number of dual 3.5 cables on hand. And also, like, I wanted a little bit higher end cable for this headphone right here, the Radiance, because it's easy to drive. What's that?
Is that the Bentley one? Bentley version?
This is the one that they did with the Bentley collab right there. And I think like they did it because they like matched the sound signature of the car stereo of one of the Bentley cars. I don't know which one. I think that's why it's called a Bentley. Anyway, it's one of my favorite closebacks. It's one of my favorite headphones, period. It sounds great. It is cable sensitive, and I just heard about half the audience walk away when I said that. But it does not respond well to a silver conductor, but since you're using copper, it worked great. So this cable sounds great with this headphone, which is what I wanted. And I got the 4.4 millimeter because the Radiance is easy to drive, and I'm reviewing DAPs and all of that kind of stuff anymore that very commonly have that Pentacon output. So I figured that was the way to go. So that's what I've been using. All right. So I think that's the basics of your company and your new product, which is exciting. This is the Audiophile Ninja Vanish, which is just about 185 USD at launch. And is it out now, or is it coming up soon?
It'll be coming out soon. We've got a couple weeks yet of things we need to finalize. More or less, product's ready to go. We just have some marketing materials and website updates and product photography, all that stuff behind the scenes that we have to get going. But basically, as soon as this video launches, it might be ready. Who knows?
Okay. Well, for context, Jeremy and I are having this conversation on February 27th of 2025. So it sounds like you're probably thinking by mid-March of 2025 these will be ready to go. Is that about right?
Correct. Yes, mid-March or a little bit sooner. We'll post it on our Facebook, Instagram, and all of our social media, as well as our website. We'll have a banner up there mentioning the release. And we'll probably have a specific page in our About Us section as well. So we'll try to tell as many people as possible. When you have all those
social links, when you have all those social links ready, send them to me, and I will include them down in the description down below as well. So once this thing is launched, if you're watching this video after that fact, you can just move right down there and get more info and get to like the webpage for an order and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, as we said before, reach out to us. We're not shy, so we're here to help get you the right cable that you need.
Well, Jeremy, I really appreciate you coming on, telling us about your company, and using my channel to launch your new product. That's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. Like I said, without your feedback and your input and my blind testing trying to trick you, but it didn't work, this wouldn't have happened. So much appreciated, and looking forward to chatting with you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you,
yeah, viewers, stick around. YouTube will probably put a commercial break in there right now. And right after that, I will give my sound impressions of the Vanish cable. So stick around. All right, thanks again to Jeremy for doing that interview. Now that interview is over, and I want to give you my 2 cents, a little mini review, if you will, of the Audiophile Ninja Vanish cable. here after the fact. So this Jeremy made for me what I believe is a production version of this. So if you buy this cable, it should look pretty much like what you see here. I went 4.4 millimeter Pentacon into the dual 3.5 millimeter for reasons I explained in the video. Now, one way the Vanish is a little bit different from Jeremy's previous cables, or his standard cables, is like you do feel the weave of the cable through this nylon coating right here. So, I mean, if you look at it, it is just a little bit wavy to it in there. And like if you pinch it, you do feel the weave of the cable in there. Not a big deal. It's just a thing that I noticed there. But in terms of like the use of this cable, for one thing, it does not tangle, right? And it also lies nice and flat pretty much all the time. There's not a lot of cable memory to it or anything like that. So, I mean, it's a soft, supple cable that lies flat. It lies well. It also is well made and sturdy without being overall heavy. So if you plug this into your headphone, like I did not notice that it created additional hot spots on my head due to it weighing down the headphone, or created existing hot spots faster. Okay, or anything like that. It just, I think the name Vanish is appropriate because it is pretty much just a gets out of the way cable, honestly. The only usage complaint that I can maybe levy against it is that sometimes with like DAPs and stuff, it's nice to have a right angle connector on the amp end, just because that usually fits in a pocket a little bit better. But I mean, that is honestly a minor quibble, and your mileage may vary on that particular complaint. But I think it's a well-made cable and so forth. Let's talk about the sound. So as I already mentioned in the video, this is a wholesale improvement over the standard Audiophile Ninja cable sonically, okay? So it's a little over $100 more from Jeremy's entry-level standard line, okay? But the price that you pay is worth it, in my opinion, sonically. Okay, and I'm gonna just say flat out here that when it comes to the sound and how this stacks up to other cables that are, you know, right around 200 US dollars, I think this is a bargain. This is a very good sounding cable. And I can hear people clicking away from me making that claim. But if you are among those that believe that believe correctly that the different conductive properties of different cable materials and cable weaves and all of that do create audible differences, then believe me when I say this is one of the better sounding cables that I have heard around this price, and I think $185 for this sonically is a bargain, and that's before you get to the excellent build quality. Over and above the standard Audiophile and Ninja line here, what do you get? A darker sonic background. So like the noise floor is like lower and cleaner. You get better overall tonal balance. There is a more realistic sense of the relationship between fundamental frequencies and their harmonics. So that leads to like better sounding and more natural timing aspects, better sounding and more natural timbre, and all that just because of the overall better tone. Okay, and this is particularly noticeable up in the treble with like cymbal crashes and all of that, like this, the fatigue, listening fatigue of like rapid fire cymbal crashes and all of that sets in much noticeably slower on the Vanish cable than the standard Audiophile Ninja line in there too. Now, it is all copper conductor, so there is a little bit of warmth to the sound. So if you have a stock cable on a headphone from like Hi-Fi Man or Meze, or even some of the Fios that are out there and all of that, like those headphones are all really good performers for their price, but with their stock cables, they can have a pretty wicked treble peak in them sometimes, and this cable really helps alleviate a lot of that with a much smoother tone and timbre, okay, and better tonal balance through the treble frequencies and so forth, okay? You also get more three-dimensionality in the soundstage over the standard Audiophile Ninja range here, and you get a much better sense of like imaging and separation and spatial cues, particularly in depth, all right, from this cable over the entry-level Audiophile Ninja line. So it is definitely a noticeable sonic upgrade from the entry-level Audiophile Ninja. Now again, Jeremy sent these to me in prototype form. The prototype that I got was a 4-pin American XLR. And then after he offered to let me have one for a steep discount for my efforts here, I opted for the 4.4 millimeter. So he re-terminated that for me, and all of that. So that was nice of him. But when I was in the blind listening phase, as he described it there, and I didn't know how much these were going to cost, I didn't know what this was made out of, okay, or anything like that, I was comparing it against a lot of my other cables that I have on hand, and what I came away with is that this cable is very competitive against this one sonically. This is a Corpse Cable Gravedigger, which as of the filming of this video here goes for right around $200, though I think for the version that you see in front of you, it's going to be about $225 if I understand their website correctly. Although this one is a 6-foot length, so it might be just a little bit more than that, and so forth. Anyway, what I noticed between these two here is that the Gravedigger has a little bit wider soundstage, right? So it sounds a little bit bigger, but also closer into me. Okay, that was one thing that I noticed. I think the Audiophile Ninja is a little bit more three-dimensionally balanced in its spatial presentation, in its sound staging. So the width, the height, and the depth sound a little bit more naturally balanced to me, where the width in particular on the Corpse Cable here sounds a little bit exaggerated. And then like the perceived distance from head to the front row of sound and all that is just closer on the Gravedigger than it is on the Vanish. That is your mileage may vary on like terms of your preference kind of thing, but that's just a thing that I noticed that you should be aware of. Now, the other sonic thing here is that the Gravedigger, just in comparison, the Vanish, I should say, is a little bit quieter. Darker sonic background, lower noise floor. It's also smoother and more refined to it. It has better and more natural tonal balance. The Gravedigger, to me, has just a little bit more sibilance and sharpness and unevenness in the treble tone than the Vanish does. And then that's also true in the mids. I think the mids are silkier and a little bit more natural on the Vanish than they are on the Gravedigger as well. The Gravedigger does have a little bit more sub-bass presence though. So it rumbles a little bit more. It slams just a little bit harder in the deep sub-bass if that is what you're interested in there. And again, the bigness and the closeness of the staging through the Gravedigger may still appeal to some. I just preferred the Vanishes, but that is like within the range of preference there. The other thing about the Gravedigger is that it is a little bit stiffer. Like it does not lie on the desk as nice or anything like that, and it's got a little bit more springiness to it in its feel there and all that. So I take that to mean like that the Vanish here, again, is a really good deal at $185. I think Jeremy really succeeded in making a well-built and ergonomically nice-to-use cable. And then he, as he said in the interview there, he doesn't really hear cable differences. Well, I do, and I'm telling you that this is one of the best sounding cables that I have heard under $200, okay? And it is sonically competitive, and actually I overall prefer it over the slightly more expensive Corpse Cable Gravedigger there. So I really do think you are getting a deal both ergonomically and sonically at $185 for the Audiophile Ninja Vanish. I think that about wraps it up then. I really appreciate Jeremy taking the time to sit down and answer my questions, and then also using my channel to tell all of you about his new headphone cable. That was really nice of you, Jeremy. I really appreciate it. To all of the viewers out there, I think he made a really good headphone cable here for the price. I would not have gone through all this effort to tell you about it if I didn't really believe that was the case, and I was trying to be as transparent as I could be through here about like how involved I was in the process of this headphone cable and all of that. And the truth is, I really wasn't involved in it at all until the very late prototype stage, where I just listened as Jeremy asked me to see if there were any mistakes in it. I really didn't find any, and then he very graciously sold me one at a hefty discount for the work that I put in helping him out there. All right, but it is an excellent value. $185 for this Vanish cable that I think is sonically overall just slightly superior to like a Corpse Cable Grave Digger, which is just like another $40-ish more expensive more often than not. I think that's a good place to be. And then of course the ergonomics were a nice package too. So it does get my recommendation here if you're looking for a quality headphone cable that is a step up from the entry level but not outrageously expensive. Consider the Audiophile Ninja Vanish. All right, thanks to all of you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment. Please check out my PayPal and my Patreon. Generally do those things you do to support YouTube channels. And depending on when you are watching this video, there may or may not be links down below in the description where you can go and order the new Vanish cable. If you're watching this right away, the video may go up slightly before sales are ready, but as soon as they are ready, I will get links down in there, so check those out too. All right, thanks again for watching, everybody, and as always, enjoy the music.